After my sister gave birth to her child, she fled abroad. I took in the abandoned baby and claimed to be the woman who had spent that passionate night with the heir of the Lowe family. Successfully married into wealth, I became Mrs. Lowe. 7 years later, my sister returned and tenderly embraced the child. She said to me, "You've occupied my place for long enough. It's time to give it back to me." After a long silence, I agreed, with just one request. "Give me enough money to settle abroad properly before you reveal the truth. Otherwise, knowing Vincent Lowe's vengeful nature, he would surely want me dead for deceiving him for 7 whole years." Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Mom. Josh stood at the doorway with his school bag, looking at me. "What's wrong?" I walked over with a smile and ruffled his hair. "Tired from school today? A lady said she's your sister." He looked at me hesitantly. I froze. After a long moment, I came back to my senses. "She looks a bit like you." Josh held my hand tightly. "But when I called her auntie, she wasn't happy. She said she's not my aunt." My fingers trembled, and my voice turned hoarse. "What else did she say?" He answered obediently, "She said to tell you about this, and you'd contact her." I leaned against the wall, feeling dizzy. 7 years ago. After giving birth to Josh, Cindy insisted on leaving, without taking the baby. I tried to stop her. "You haven't even recovered properly. Why not take the baby to the Lowes? They can't possibly reject their own flesh and blood." Cindy's voice was desperate. "I kept the baby without their knowledge. How could they ever accept me? How could they let me in? The best outcome would be them taking the child and sending me away." After a long silence, I asked, "What about the baby?" She was resolute. "Taking him abroad would only be a burden. Just leave him at the children's home." Then Cindy left. That winter, she abandoned both me and her child. I was very poor that year, but I couldn't bear to abandon her baby. Such a tiny, wrinkled little thing. So I carried the baby to the Lowe mansion. I ignored all the questioning, contemptuous, and disdainful looks. I said, "I need to see Vincent Lowe. I've had his child." Unlike what Cindy had predicted, I wasn't thrown out. Instead, I was invited in. A DNA test was arranged immediately. When Vincent came back, his mother, Mrs. Lowe, said in an ambiguous tone, "The Lowe family has an heir now." The man stood tall and elegant, giving me just one cold glance. I lowered my eyes nervously. I had only dared to try this desperate move based on the details Cindy had told me. She said when she was with Vincent, the lights were off. So Vincent didn't know the exact appearance of the woman that night. But when such an intimidating man stood before me, I couldn't help feeling uncertain. I had no confidence. Fortunately, Vincent didn't say anything, though he didn't look at the baby either. Mrs. Lowe coughed lightly. "This girl has been through 9 months of pregnancy." Vincent interrupted, "I'll marry her." Everyone froze. I was stunned too. I had come here rashly, only intending to return the child to the Lowe family. I hadn't even considered what would happen to me. The atmosphere remained tense for a long while. Vincent's gaze fell casually on my face. "I'll take responsibility for my own mistakes." Mrs. Lowe pondered for a moment, then rubbed her temples. "As you wish. Since you're willing, start preparing for the wedding." At that moment, I gripped my skirt tightly. I didn't understand Vincent's motives. He had no shortage of potential wives. And there were plenty of women in City S who would gladly be a stepmother to the young Lowe heir. Yet he was willing to marry a woman who supposedly had his child in secret. Perhaps he wanted to give the child a complete family? I couldn't tell, but I was just a poor, unfortunate person. And when the opportunity to marry into a wealthy family presented itself, I didn't want to let it go. Moreover, that child was my sister's, making us truly blood-related. So, I looked up and smiled at Vincent. "I will be a good wife and a good mother." And that's how it began. Some lies, once formed, last for 7 years. "Why are you so distracted?" Vincent wrapped his arm around my waist, calmly glancing at me. I came back to my senses, leaning into his embrace. "Josh has lost weight these days. If he gets any thinner, he'll be skin and bones." Vincent frowned, his tone cooling. You're spending too much energy worrying about him. With that, he gripped my chin and kissed me, leaving no room for resistance. He only released me when I was breathless. He held my waist, placing me on his lap. Vincent looked down at me. Something's bothering you. He was always frighteningly perceptive. But I had my ways of dealing with this. I continued using Josh as my shield, saying worriedly, Josh's teacher told me he doesn't interact much with other children at school. Should we maybe see a child psychologist? I'm worried he might. Amelia. Vincent cut me off, his eyes dark. You need to focus on yourself sometimes. I paused, then sighed. All right. I sat on Vincent's lap, watching his long fingers typing on the keyboard as he efficiently handled his work. He didn't ask further, and I dodged another bullet. But Cindy was back. That was something I couldn't avoid, no matter how hard I tried. Once she presents the DNA test results proving her relationship with Josh to the Lowe family, all the lies will crumble. And I, the imposter, will be exposed. Several days had passed, and I still hadn't contacted Cindy. I unconsciously wrung my hands, taking a breath, then sighing. Taking another breath, then sighing again. Vincent couldn't take it anymore. He closed his laptop, his eyes dangerously narrowed. Stop worrying about Josh for now. Worry about yourself. When he lifted my nightgown, my mind instantly cleared. I quickly pushed against him. Wait, I just remembered I have something to do. Yes, I need to make some dessert for Josh. He pinned both my wrists above my head with one hand, making me hold the lifted nightgown between my teeth. He looked down at me with a smirk. Too many words, babe. I glared at him, making muffled protests. Vincent held my waist, his voice deep. Keep making those sounds. It's cute. Time seemed to stand still. I lay lifeless on the sofa, completely drained. Vincent, already dressed impeccably in his suit, placed a kiss on my forehead. I'm heading to the office. Don't wait up for dinner. I nodded weakly. My relationship with Vincent was peculiar, sweeter, and more intimate than a cordial marriage. Yet far from passionate love. He rarely dined at home and seldom inquired about Josh. Only when we were alone did he show any tenderness. Even then, it was minimal. After all, besides our intimate moments, we had little to discuss. I was dozing off on the master bedroom sofa. Until I heard the front door open. Josh was back from school. I walked downstairs in my slippers. Josh? Why are you home so la-dash? My voice trailed off. Cindy Burton stood at the door, holding Josh's hand. My lips trembled before I managed to speak. Cindy. Josh smiled brightly. Mom, Auntie took me to the amusement park after school. I forced a smile and walked towards him, crouching down to pinch his cheek. Were the butler and the driver with you? He nodded. I smiled. That's good, but next time, have the butler contact me first, okay? Josh nodded again. Cindy suddenly spoke. You're quite the mother figure, aren't you? I looked up at her words. Cindy looked barely changed from 7 years ago. Dressed in a trench coat with a designer bag. Nothing like when she left City S in such a desperate state. I remained silent. She pulled Josh into a gentle embrace and said to me, You've occupied my place long enough. It's time to return it. Her tone wasn't harsh. And Josh didn't notice anything unusual, just blinked in confusion. What place? I froze, involuntarily clenching my fists. Cindy lowered her voice so only I could hear. As sisters, I won't hold it against you for impersonating me and taking my place all these years. But if you want to fight me on this, you won't win. Then, keeping her hands on Josh's shoulders, she gave me a slight smile. Josh, I said hoarsely, did you enjoy today? Josh, who inherited Vincent's reserved nature, rarely showed much emotion. He glanced up at Cindy with an unusual smile. Yes. Then. I struggled to speak, for the parents' evening day after tomorrow. If both your aunt and I could go, who would you prefer? He hesitated, then took Cindy's hand. I remained silent for a long while. Then patted his back, Why don't you go up and do your homework? After Josh left, Cindy and I stared at each other for a long time. I laughed bitterly. I can leave. Give me some money, and once I'm settled abroad, you can reveal the truth. Otherwise, knowing Vincent's vengeful nature, if he discovered I'd deceived him for 7 years, he'd probably kill me. Cindy frowned. How much do you want? I've raised your child all this time. I stepped back. 10 million pounds. She sneered, and here I was complimenting you earlier. Trading a child for money, have you no shame? I just looked at her. After a few minutes of standoff, she said, fine. But I only have 2 million now, enough for you to live on for a while. I'll pay the rest once everything's settled. I whispered, all right. In the evening, Vincent sent me a message, I won't be coming home tonight. All right, I replied promptly. He responded with a question mark. I stared at the question mark. Previously, to maintain my image as the perfect wife, I would always shower Vincent with concerned messages whenever he stayed out late. Things like don't work too hard, love. Or I'll be waiting for you at home, or will you be back tomorrow? And so on. But an image is just an image. Since my time playing the role of the perfect wife was coming to an end, I couldn't be bothered to act anymore. I stretched and began packing my bags. As I packed, I realized I didn't want to leave anything behind. The clothes, necklaces, handbags, they were all my treasures. Sigh. I had 5 large suitcases delivered. I became so absorbed in packing. So much so that I didn't notice when Vincent opened the door and leaned against the doorframe, his face expressionless. It wasn't until I'd finished packing all 5 suitcases and was rubbing my sore back that I met his dark, unfathomable eyes. I froze. Hi, hubby, good evening, weren't you not coming home? The corner of his mouth curved up slightly, his tone terrifyingly gentle. If I'm not coming home, where were you planning to go? Oh, well, I forced a smile and explained. I haven't been sleeping well lately because I've been so worried about Josh. I decided to go away for a while to clear my head. Vincent studied me for a long moment. Surprisingly, he didn't make things difficult. He just nodded. Fine. I pressed my lips together. While I'm away, please spend more time with Josh. He's such a quiet boy, and you two don't talk much. Also, make sure the kitchen prepares more meat dishes, he's still growing. Amelia, Vincent cut in impatiently. Even without you here, no one in the Lowe household will neglect him. I froze. Right. I wanted to say more. Like how happy I'd been these past few years with the Lowes. How kind his mother had been to me, what a wonderful child Josh was. And how much I would miss Vincent. But in the end, I wasn't the woman Vincent had spent that passionate night with years ago. Nor was I Josh's birth mother. I'd lived the life of a wealthy man's wife in my sister's place for all these years. I should be grateful for that. Yet why did it still hurt so much? Vincent turned towards his study, his voice flat. Take your time away. There's no rush to come back. His long legs carried him away without a hint of reluctance. My fingers curled slightly as I whispered, all right. After hours on the plane. Just after landing, I received a photo from Cindy. Josh was quietly drawing beside her. In his drawing, there was a woman with long curly hair holding a coffee cup. He was drawing Cindy. I stared at it for a long while. After all, it's natural for a mother and son to be close to each other. Blood is thicker than water. Wish you happiness, I replied. I meant it sincerely. You didn't raise Josh very well, she responded. I wanted to explain that I had tried my best to be both Josh's mother and Vincent's wife. But I knew Cindy would only take it as provocation. So I remained silent and only said, now that you're here, please make up for my shortcomings over these years. Cindy didn't reply. I settled in a small town on the outskirts of Western Europe. Though I didn't know anyone and had to rely on a translator app. The scenery was as beautiful as in the movies. A few days later, Vincent messaged me. Josh really likes one of his teachers, so I let her stay. As a live-in tutor? I asked. Yes. I typed back, all right. I knew without asking who it was. It's good for them to build their mother-son relationship this way. Cindy's usually private social media was now frequently showing photos of Josh. And the little boy would give shy smiles to the camera. I had always thought he didn't like smiling. I turned off my phone. The first couple of days here were quite challenging. For years, my life had revolved entirely around Josh and Vincent. I hardly had any time to myself. Now with this sudden freedom, apart from learning the local language, I didn't know what to do with myself. I slowly deleted Josh's photos from my phone and forwarded all his school teachers' contacts to Cindy. Then I saw the gossip news showing Vincent and Cindy together, their chemistry undeniable. I blinked slowly. My heart felt hollow. Apparently, Cindy is now the director of a fashion magazine, with some recognition abroad. Some people in the British fashion industry recognized her face, praising them as a perfect match. I smiled bitterly. They're not just a perfect match, they even have a child together. The day when £2 million arrived in my account, I quickly deactivated all my social media accounts on my phone and switched to the new SIM card I had prepared in advance. As expected, within hours after the money was transferred, hashtag Josh Lowe's real mother revealed hashtag started trending on social media. By then, no one could reach me anymore. I had already transferred those £2 million to a different account. Trying to suppress my complicated emotions, I sat eating freshly baked cookies. And the divorce papers I had left in my bedside drawer must have been handed to Vincent by Cindy by now. From this moment on, the world was wide open, and I was no longer Mrs. Lowe. On the day of Cindy and Vincent's wedding ceremony, I was lounging in a deck chair, basking in the sunlight. "Amelia!" I heard someone call out. I knew exactly who it was. The teenage girl from next door, who always loved spending time with me. She had brown hair, light freckles on her cheeks, and bright blue eyes that sparkled when she smiled. She showed me her phone translator. "Oh my God, I just saw a newlywed couple from your city on social media. The bride looks a bit like you." She scrolled to some photos online. I couldn't understand the foreign text, but I recognized the people in the pictures. I froze for a moment. There was Cindy in her wedding dress, beaming as she held Vincent's arm. Josh followed behind them, carrying a flower basket. They look perfect together. The girl attempted to pronounce the words from the translator. "Of course they do," I smiled, ruffling her hair. The neighbors had quite a large family. The girl had a 16-year-old brother and a 4-year-old brother, who both came running into my garden. I went inside and brought out some biscuits. I added more sugar this time. "Tell me if they taste different." The three of them chatted excitedly around me. I couldn't help but smile at them. Then I saw him, the man who should have been getting married, standing at my garden gate. His gaze slowly swept across the garden before settling on me. The chatter suddenly stopped. The girl gasped, looking between her phone and Vincent. Vincent's leather shoes made a soft rustling sound as he walked across the grass. When he reached me, he slowly traced my cheek with his knuckles, his gesture almost tender. He leaned in and said, "You ran away just to look after other people's children?" I stepped back, avoiding his touch. The girl quickly pulled her brothers away, giving me a thumbs up for encouragement before leaving. My lips trembled as I tried to explain. Josh may not be my biological son, but I raised him. Even if I didn't give birth to him, I cared for him, and I'm still Cindy's sister. My voice shook. "I'm sorry for coming between you two for so long. I wish you and my sister a lifetime of happiness." Absolute silence. After a while, he let out a cold laugh. "Josh misses you." I froze. Without me, he looked down at me, a flash of coldness crossing his eyes. "Do you think Cindy would have spare £8 million for you?" I looked up sharply. He grabbed my chin, his grip so tight it hurt. "Come back to City S with me," he said curtly. After a long silence, I replied, "No." Vincent maliciously caressed my face. "After deceiving me for so long, you're still being stubborn?" I pressed my lips together. "You were the one who said you'd marry me. I never forced you." "Indeed." He looked at me calmly. "If you don't come back, I'll abandon both Cindy and Josh." "What are you saying?" I couldn't believe my ears. He said carelessly, "I'll marry another woman and have another child." Completely above board. He pronounced the last 3 words slowly and clearly. My eyes wavered. I knew Vincent Lowe always meant what he said. I followed Vincent back to City S. The atmosphere in the Lowe mansion was incredibly tense. The butler saw me and said softly, "Madam." I awkwardly waved my hand. "I'm not your madam anymore, there's someone else now." As I glanced around, I caught sight of a slim figure. Josh stood in the corner, quietly watching me. After a moment, he turned to leave. I couldn't help calling out to him, "Josh." He didn't stop. Vincent leaned against the doorframe and said flatly, "Josh Lowe." The boy stopped. "Don't you know how to address people?" Josh turned around. He was wearing dungarees and holding a book. His young face remained expressionless as he asked, "What should I call her? Mom or Aunt?" The air grew still. I broke the tension with a smile. "Aunt will do." Josh stared at me for a few seconds before quickly turning and running upstairs. I didn't chase after him. Vincent asked with interest. "You used to always go after him when you had disagreements. Why not now?" I shook my head. "That's Cindy's job now." "Cindy won't comfort him," Vincent said lazily. I flinched at the familiarity in his tone. "Well, it's not my place anymore either." Vincent made no comment. At some point, the living room lights had dimmed. The butler and other staff had long since left. Vincent looked at me, his expression so cold it made me nervous. Then he stepped towards me. "7 years of lies, and you thought you could just run away? Miss Burton, it's time to settle accounts." I was thrown onto the bed before I could react. "You." Vincent removed his tie and bound my hands, smiling coldly. "Don't say anything to spoil the mood." As his long fingers began unbuttoning my blouse, a tear fell onto his hand. Vincent's movements froze as he looked up. "Why are you crying?" he asked. I remained silent, tears flowing uncontrollably. He roughly wiped away my tears, his voice unexpectedly irritated. "Talk to me." My mind was in chaos, overwhelmed by emotions. In the end, I could only cover my eyes with my hands and sob quietly. "Do you despise me that much?" After a long while, Vincent spoke, his voice completely flat. "All these years, you've endured such humiliation just to keep the child in the Lowe family." Vincent left. I watched his retreating figure and slowly curled up under the duvet. Perhaps, if I had just left Josh at the Lowe family mansion that day, none of this would have happened. I've always been a coward. At school, I never fought back when bullied. And when my phone was snatched on the street, I didn't dare chase after the thief. It was always Cindy who helped me, cursing while doing so. She would chase down thieves to get my phone back, even confronting thugs head-on. And the bravest thing I've ever done was pretending to be her to marry into the Lowe family. "Amelia." I heard the clear voice and looked up bewildered. Josh stood in the shadowy doorway, watching me quietly. He wasn't sure how to address me, so he used my name directly. "Why are you crying?" he asked. "Because." I met his eyes. I seemed to have made many mistakes. Josh walked towards me step by step. His small hand wiped away my tears. Then he lifted the duvet and crawled in. Neither of us spoke. I felt embarrassed to continue crying in front of him. "What's wrong?" "Afraid to sleep alone?" He pressed his lips together and nodded. I picked up my phone to call Cindy. Josh held my hand down. He didn't explain, just stubbornly prevented me from making the call. I put down my phone resignedly. "Did you two have a row?" Cindy can be quite headstrong, she probably won't make the first move to reconcile. Josh's hands were cold, so I held them to warm them up. Silence fell. "Go to sleep," I said. "Don't you have school tomorrow?" He buried himself under the duvet. I pulled it back and tucked it around his shoulders. "Don't cover your head, you need to breathe." He closed his eyes. I stared at his fluffy black hair for a long while until my eyelids grew heavy. Once my tense nerves relaxed, sleep came quickly. When Vincent pushed open the door, this was the scene he found. His expression was hidden in the darkness as his gaze fixed on the sight before him. The king-size bed was occupied by 2 people, leaving no space for him. He gave a cold laugh. The one who had been crying so miserably earlier was now sleeping so soundly. Vincent stood at the doorway for a long time before turning towards the guest room. The next day, when I went downstairs, Josh had already left for school. Vincent was sitting on the sofa with his long legs crossed. His fingers were pressed against his temple, and he barely lifted his eyelids when he heard movement. Next to him lay an exquisite dress of premium quality and design. The man tilted his chin up. "Put this on. You're coming to my parents' home with me." "Me? With you?" I shook my head quickly in protest. "Where's Cindy?" Vincent tossed the dress into my arms, repeating flatly, "You're coming with me." I hesitantly caught the dress. The car drove smoothly to the Lowe residence. Mrs. Lowe was sitting in the main seat waiting for us, taking a sip of her tea. Vincent's father had passed away in an accident 8 years ago. And that was when Vincent took full control of the group. When the chairman died, the stock market crashed. When Vincent took over, the entire group was in chaos. Within half a year, he had everything running smoothly again. In City S's business circles, people say like father like son. But Vincent proved to be even more of a business genius. Known for his swift decisions and ruthless methods. Mrs. Lowe couldn't control Vincent, nor would she make things difficult for his wife. She didn't ask about recent events, but during dinner she said, "Amelia, why haven't there been any signs from your belly?" I was stunned. Previously, there had been no movement because I thought Josh was enough. And there was no need for another child. Vincent had followed my lead, always using protection. As for the future, there definitely wouldn't be any movement. I chose my words carefully. "We already have Josh, don't we?" Mrs. Lowe's gaze passed over me and landed on Vincent. Vincent didn't speak, his fingers tapping the table intermittently. Mrs. Lowe said mildly, "Have another one, to keep Josh company." I didn't respond. Vincent remained calm. "We'll see." Mrs. Lowe turned her prayer beads in her hand and said nothing more. But somehow I felt Mrs. Lowe's expression wasn't quite right. As if she had something left unsaid. After dinner, Vincent received a phone call and needed to return to the office. He wanted to take me with him. Mrs. Lowe smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Let Amelia keep me company for an after-dinner walk. At my age, digestion isn't so good." Vincent refused on my behalf. "There are plenty of people in the house who can walk with you." Mrs. Lowe's smile vanished. "What are you implying? That I would bully her?" Seeing the atmosphere becoming increasingly tense, I quickly spoke up. "Vincent, you go ahead with your work. I'll walk with Mother, it's been a while since we've had a chat anyway." Vincent looked down at me for several seconds before turning to leave. I turned my attention back to Mrs. Lowe, smiling as I sat beside her. "Let me help you up." She held me back inside. Then she took off her jade green bracelet and put it on my wrist. I was shocked. "No, Mother, I can't accept this." She shook her head. "This color is too delicate, but it suits you well." I felt strange inside. For 7 years the bracelet hadn't come to me. Why now when Cindy had returned was she giving it to me? Mrs. Lowe suddenly said, "Amelia, you and Vincent aren't getting any younger. Have another child. Boy or girl, it doesn't matter. It would make the house livelier." I smiled with difficulty. "Mother, these things can't be forced. Besides, Josh is at a crucial age in school. Having another child might make him overthink things." "Tell me the truth," she frowned. "Is it you who doesn't want another child, or Vincent?" "We." I pressed my lips together. "We just haven't thought about it much. One child is enough." "Don't you want to have another child for him?" she asked abruptly. I was bewildered. Actually, I had thought about it early in our marriage, but I felt it wouldn't be fair to Josh. Being honest with myself, if I had a child with Vincent, could I be completely fair, without any bias? Would I still be able to give all my attention and love to Josh? I didn't dare to take that gamble, so I gave up the idea. Mrs. Lowe said nothing more, just patted my hand. When I returned to the villa, I was surprised to find Cindy sitting at the table in the ground floor living room. She was waiting for me. As our eyes met, Cindy parted her red lips and said, "I'm going back." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. She put on her sunglasses. "Britain isn't as good as I imagined. And besides, all my business connections are abroad." I took a moment to process her words. "What about Josh?" "The Lows won't let you take him abroad." Cindy frowned. "Who said I was taking him?" "You're not planning to take him?" I suddenly pulled off Cindy's sunglasses, staring into her beautiful almond eyes. My voice rising uncontrollably. "You came back specially to tell him that his birth mother is you, and then what? Then tell him you're leaving again, abandoning him again?" She blinked slowly. Then nodded, yes. I slapped her across the face, and she turned her head away. My voice trembled. I was the one who carried him to the Lows. I was the one who carefully raised him for 7 years. You said I stole your place. Fine, I'll give it back to you. And now you're leaving again? Cindy, you've abandoned him twice. What about me? At the end, I mumbled, "What about me?" Cindy seemed to catch my underlying meaning, and her expression showed rare hesitation. My eyes reddened. "Back then when you wanted to go abroad, I couldn't stop you. I just wanted to give your child the best life possible. When you came back, thinking my position would give you a better life, I was willing to give that to you too. You might see me as a villain, but my conscience is clear. All these years." I choked up and closed my eyes. "I've really missed you." Her fingers trembled. A long silence followed. "Josh isn't Vincent's child." Something shattered in the air. Cindy leaned back in her chair weakly. She lifted her eyes and said word by word, "They're not father and son." I heard my own voice shake. "What did you say?" "Of course, he is my child." Cindy reached for a cigarette from her pocket, about to light it. I said, "Let's go to the balcony." She nodded. "Did you know Vincent had a twin brother?" Cindy asked. I thought about it. I've never heard him mention it. He died in a car accident with their father. Cindy smiled sadly. The day before he died, he told his family he was going to find me and marry me. He had seen me through security cameras and got my photo, showing everyone how beautiful I was. I couldn't calm my emotions and was confused. "Then why did you think it was Vincent?" She exhaled smoke, looking into the distance. "I only found out recently. The drugged wine was meant for Vincent, but his brother drank it instead." Cindy leaned on the balcony, her face appearing and disappearing in the white smoke. She laughed slightly. "Back then, if I had slept with Vincent and got his photos, I would have gotten £20,000. She made a number gesture, £200,000, that much. But when I woke up, he was already gone. All I was left with was a child." I wanted to say something, but found I didn't know what to say. The cigarette burned to the end, scorching her hand, but she didn't notice. After a long while, I said, "You asked me to leave, but now you're leaving. What about Josh? And..." My throat was dry. "You and Vincent, you're already married." The night wind blew, and she wrapped her coat tighter. "He didn't sign the divorce papers." I was shocked. "What?" Cindy turned to face me. "The wedding was fake too. As for the truth, ask him yourself." She patted my shoulder and was about to leave. "Cindy." I suddenly spoke. "I'm not a saint. I won't leave just because you tell me to, or stay because you tell me to." I smiled at her. "All these years, I've been quite lost. Until you appeared, I realized that being Mrs. Lowe isn't that important to me after all. I can accept losing it. I can accept losing Vincent and Josh. And of course, you too." "No, actually, I lost you that night 7 years ago." I said softly. "If you want to leave, go ahead. I won't stay either." Cindy turned her head away. I couldn't see her expression, only hear her trembling voice. "Amelia, after Mom and Dad died, we only had each other for decades. I hated you. I always thought without you, life would be easier. Do you know why I had to earn that £200,000 back then? Because you said you didn't want to go to university, because there was no tuition fee. Her voice cracked, but with that 200,000. But I never got that money, I got nothing. You didn't go to university either, I really felt like a failure. She lowered her head with a self-mocking smile. I really thought Vincent was the father of my child. And I wanted to know if you would step aside for me. I was wrong, you would, and reality slapped me hard in the face. I've been living like a joke from start to finish. Vincent has only ever been yours. She pulled out a voice recorder from her pocket and put it in my hand, so is Josh. She turned to leave, her coat fluttering in the wind. Her lips moved slightly, the 3 words scattered in the wind. I'm sorry. I sat on my bed listening to the voice recorder, feeling surprisingly calm. The content was a conversation between Cindy and Josh. Cindy, why did you ask me to attend the parents' evening instead? Does she often scold you? Josh, no, it's just that every time at parents' evening, teachers tell her I'm too introverted, and she keeps worrying about me. I just don't like talking to people. I don't want her to worry anymore. Cindy, your drawings of Amelia are beautiful. Draw me too. Josh refused, no. Cindy, but if she knows you only draw her and not me, she'll be sad. There was a moment of silence on the recorder, followed by the sound of pencil scratching on paper. Cindy, you don't seem to smile much. Josh, it's fine. Cindy, let me tell you about Amelia then. She's always been timid since she was little, wouldn't say a word when bullied. Josh, was she bullied often? Cindy, yes, she looked harmless and easy to pick on. Once she was cornered in an alley by some thugs, didn't dare fight back, just cried. Josh's voice finally showed some emotion. What happened then? Cindy laughed. Don't worry. I knocked their bloody heads in. She paused. Cindy, don't look like that, smile a bit. I'll tell you other stories about her, some happy ones. Josh, all right. Cindy, where should I start? When she was 10, I suppose. Our parents had just died, and I was learning to make Yorkshire pudding from the neighbor. She would follow me around calling sis, but she could barely read her textbook. I quietly listened to everything on the recorder. Then I went downstairs. The butler nodded, Madam, Miss Cindy has left. I turned around. Josh was sitting on the sofa, head down. I asked, did you draw me? He looked up, startled, yes. I sat beside him, patting his head, wanting to say something. But silence prevailed. After a moment, I said, show me. Josh remained quiet, she took it. I froze. But didn't you draw both of us? Josh nodded, she took the drawing I made of you. I looked out the window. The wind seemed particularly strong today. Autumn had come again. Autumn nights were chilly. I wondered if Cindy would catch cold on her way to the airport. Are you leaving? Josh asked quietly. He had heard my conversation with Cindy. I looked back at him, shaking my head uncertainly. I don't know, maybe. I thought Josh would be upset, cry, beg me not to go. But he just held my hand. Where will you go? Can I visit you during holidays? I pinched his cheek, but I'm not your real mom. He let me pinch him, staying silent. I sighed, pulling him into a hug. But I love you, Mom, he mumbled, awkwardly clutching my clothes. After Josh fell asleep, I sat in the living room waiting for Vincent. When he came back, it was already late at night. Vincent paused slightly when he saw me. Why aren't you sleeping? I shrugged, waiting for you. What for? He met my gaze with a slight smirk. Cindy said you haven't signed the divorce papers. I'm here to make sure you do, I smiled faintly. After all, the man I kept outside is eager for commitment. Vincent's smirk froze, his eyes darkening instantly. What did you say? Do I need to repeat myself? I said. He strode over and gripped my chin. We're not divorced yet. How dare you? I frowned. But you've already had a wedding ceremony with my sister. What right do you have to judge me? I have nothing to do with her. Vincent growled. He stopped abruptly when he met my questioning gaze. Then what about those photos of you two together? The viral wedding posts? I asked expressionlessly. They're fake. I stared at him. He clenched his jaw. She arranged those photos with journalists without my knowledge. That's when I told her the truth. The wedding photos, Cindy begged me to take them. Then had professionals use AI to replace my face with my brother's. I furrowed my brows slightly. What about the viral wedding posts? Vincent sneered. I had people create those images. I arranged for your neighbor to show them to you. No wonder Mrs. Lowe never questioned it. So no one knew about this. I sneered too. You paid her? Vincent spoke coldly. I told her my wife had angered me and I wanted her to come back to me. That's all. He paused. Of course, I paid her some money. I slapped him, incredulous. Are you mental? I angered you? Didn't you? He gritted his teeth. I didn't even blame you for lying to me, but you ran away first. I laughed mirthlessly. I'm sure when I brought Josh to the Lowe mansion, you all knew I was lying. Everyone knew the child wasn't mine, but my sister's. Knew he wasn't Vincent's, but his deceased brother's. If they wanted to investigate the truth, it would have been effortless. Vincent fell silent. I wiped my face. Why did you marry me? His thin lips parted. I was being pressured to marry right when you appeared. Vincent leaned back on the sofa. Since I had to raise the child anyway, wasn't it better to marry someone related to him? He glanced sideways, his expression turning casual. Or did you want to hear that it was love at first sight? I waved dismissively. I'm not that narcissistic. Where are the divorce papers? Go sign them. Vincent's expression darkened. I have nothing to do with your sister. So what? I crossed my arms. I've realized there's no point staying married to a husband who can't communicate properly. Making me worry all this time. Yes, I lied to him for 7 years, but hadn't Vincent also lied to me for 7 years? After hearing my words, he stood frozen. After what seemed like ages, he grabbed my wrist and struggled to say, "Don't divorce me, please?" Maybe it really was love at first sight. I raised my eyebrows, looking at him in surprise. I wiggled my fingers. No. I started learning about financial investment and establishing my own studio. It was consuming both energy and money. Just when I was considering whether to ask Vincent, my persistent admirer, for some help, a transfer of £2 million arrived in my account. It was from Cindy. She sent me a message. About the £10 million I promised you, I won't short you a penny. But I need time, don't rush me. I sniffled. Then I told Vincent, I don't need you anymore. When I'm busy, I'm really busy. Josh would come to find me with his school bag. He's a rather awkward child, just like Vincent. For instance, when I'm too busy to pay attention to him, he would struggle to speak. Mom, could you spend? I looked at him. He fell silent. I continued working. He came over and tugged at my sleeve. Spend time with me, please? I made you some cupcakes. Well, at least his baking skills come from me. Vincent would come to visit too. As soon as he enters, his tone turns sour. Your studio's hiring male staff now? Yes, I replied nonchalantly. He looks like a pretty boy, he said with contempt. Oh. He smirked. Don't you have anything to say about that? Not really. After a long pause, Vincent said, I'm jealous. I nodded. He lifted his gaze, staring at me intently. All right, I reassured him, I'll watch a film with you tonight. Vincent, fine, I suppose I'll accept that. Josh propped his chin up, I want to come too. Vincent, you're not allowed. Josh, I am. Vincent, no, you're not. I rubbed my temples wearily. Why can't we have one peaceful day? Well, I suppose it's not too bad.